You're here on Gunster's View from the Top with the man who is literally at the top of America's space program, and that's my friend Frank DiBello, who's the CEO and president of Space Florida. Frank, thank you for joining Gunster's View from the Top.
George, I'm happy to be with you, and I really do feel like I'm on top in many respects. This is such a great time for this industry, and I feel like I've got the best job in the world. But happy to be with you and to join your team.
Well, we're pleased to have you, and I think most Floridians know that Florida is the place where America reaches for the stars, and they are aware of our great past of, the Apollo program and going to the moon, but so much more is being done. And what you're doing in terms of the private sector and what it means for jobs in Florida is so exciting. So can you talk a little bit about what Space Florida is, what your mission is, and some of the things that you've been up to lately?
Very fine, and I am really privileged right now to be at the helm of one of the most unique organizations, certainly in the state, but in many respects in the country. We were created by the legislature to help grow an industry that is very important to the state, and that's the aerospace and space industry. We were created as a legislatively chartered public corporation for the common good, but we're for profit, which means we can cut deals, and that's fun. But we were also concurrently made a independent special district with a statewide scope of charter to grow the industry in the state. So we can fundamentally use the powers of government and deal government to government at one level, and then company to company or corporation to corporation at another level. So it really is pretty interesting with respect to the constructs of finance that we can achieve. We lead with infrastructure. The aerospace and space industry like to work on what I call a return on assets model, which means they want the numerator to be as big as possible and the denominator to be as small as possible. And using the powers of our ability to bond and finance infrastructure, predominantly using third-party capital, private capital markets, we essentially create structures that take CapEx off the books of these companies when they want to come to Florida. So we use a conduit finance structure, oftentimes a synthetic lease structure, and I realize I'm getting more into the bowels of it, but using those structures, we provide both depreciation and tax efficiencies and other kinds of financial benefits to their operating and balance sheet going out 10, 20, 40, 50 years. So these are constructs that really do attract industry to Florida. And we've been very, very fortunate in being able to do that.
And Frank, tell us about some of those businesses that have come to Florida that are involved in the space program, what they're doing, so that our viewers can understand, and be able to grasp what these companies are and what they're doing.
Well, certainly, I've been in the role since 2009, and I think you all remember that at the beginning of that time, we'd just come through a recession that was one of the deepest that the country has felt. And in 2011, we saw the end of another large federal program that had been canceled, the shuttle program. And that was the third time in Florida's history where Florida was maimed by an overdependence on a large federal program that was canceled. We swore at that time that we would focus on diversifying the industry. So we were very successful in achieving that, sometimes taking excess property or infrastructure from NASA or the government and investing to commercialize it for a company to come in and locate here. So that today we are no longer just launching stuff, which is what we were known for the past 50 years. Today we are actually building the rockets that we launch. We're building spacecraft here, and I can give you examples. Blue Origin is actually manufacturing rockets in a facility that we financed for them that started out at 250,000 square feet, and it's well over 1 million square feet today. And they should be flying their rockets soon from Florida. SpaceX is operating here. OneWeb, a project that is a joint venture between OneWeb and Airbus, built a world-class manufacturing facility for satellites that we financed and leased to them under a conduit structure. We have Lockheed Martin that is building the Orion spacecraft here, which should be flying. It's a spacecraft within the next year to 18 months on the Space Launch System that is being manufactured in Florida. And the outlook looks good across the spectrum. We've seen a whole host of new companies, commercial companies, entering into the marketplace. So that today we're looking at a dramatically different space industry and aerospace industry in the state. We've also done a lot of aerospace manufacturing work around the state, putting in an 8-building campus for Northrop Grumman, where they're designing and engineering the Advanced Long Range Strike Bomber. We have a research and development center for Embraer up in Melbourne that is owned by Space Florida and leased to them. And we're doing projects all over the state, a half a dozen in the Panhandle or Jacksonville or elsewhere. So it's every major aerospace company, but the exciting part are the young entrepreneurial companies that are coming into the marketplace, George. It's an interesting time for Florida.
Well, it's exciting. I remember when the shuttle program was scrapped, and remember that created a Great Depression, not just a recession in your part of the world on the Space Coast. So diversifying makes all the sense in the world. And I saw in your annual report last year that you created more than 4,500 jobs. So it seems to me that not only those jobs, those are great jobs, right? These are hot, knowledge-based jobs, engineers, literally rocket scientists, and having those in Florida hopefully will create that synergistic impact you're talking about, these young entrepreneurs. So my hat's off to you for that. I wanted to ask you, I just recently saw that you have a new launch and landing facility that you just announced. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that actually is the former shuttle landing facility. It was a 3-mile long runway that is wide enough to be able to land a small plane crosswise on it. And that is the field that the shuttle used when it returned to Earth from space. We have taken that from NASA under an operating agreement, a long-term lease agreement, and we've revitalized it. And today we're developing it as a special purpose airport and spaceport. One such client will be taking off vertically in one part of the spaceport and then landing horizontally on that launch and landing facility. When they're finished with their mission, they'll be taking cargo up to the space station. That's Sierra Space. We have a myriad of other functions that are going on there, and we are investing to put a utility corridor in to develop a lot of the land around it. It's just really a cool facility. It is one of 4 licensed spaceports that we have, spaceport sites that we have here in Florida out of 10 that exist in the US. So Florida has 4 of those sites. Another indicator of where Florida is in the marketplace, though, is that last year there were 38 US launches. Florida had 31 of those.
Wow.
To give you some sense that we are today the nation's spaceport, and those were predominantly commercial launches, not government launches.
That's amazing, and that's so great for our state. There's been a lot of things that we trail in. It's nice to be number one in this industry. Frank, we've got a lot of people, policymakers who watch Gunster's View from the Top, legislators and others. What more can be done? What other tools could we put in your toolbox to help you make sure that Florida is the best place for space in the United States?
Well, it's interesting. We have a lot of authority, and I have to commend the legislators that built the statute that we're operating under. And I realize it's the 4th attempt by the state to create an entity like this. So we've learned a lot along the way. But our financing tools can always be strengthened to keep up with market conditions. Right now we have the ability to float bonds, but I would like to have a more flexible capability to fit longer term bonding authority with the length of these assets that we're financing, which often go 40 and 50 years out. I think the biggest area that we need to work on collectively in the state is workforce. We produce a lot of workforce. We need to think through how to better align those with industry needs and keep more of the workforce that we develop and produce here, keep it in the state. And we've got a number of thoughts about how to do that will help, we hope, in the future.
Frank, we're really excited for what you're doing for our state. You're a great Floridian. Thank you for being on Gunster's View from the Top.
Happy to be here, and anytime I'd be pleased.
Okay. Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.